Hello and welcome to this special edition of Musical Tuesdays. Today I will give you an overview of Beethoven's masterpiece. The Spring Sonata is the sonata for violin and piano number 5 in F major, known as the Spring Sonata because of its beginning. It has a melody and the harmony that if you really close your eyes and think about the feeling and the smells and the sounds of spring, this music almost fits perfectly that. And so it was called like that later on after Beethoven passed away. I believe it was by a publisher, but I'm not 100% sure. But it certainly wasn't named the Spring Sonata by Beethoven himself. So this little tutorial, like I said, is meant to help you follow the music and not only enjoy the sounds and the emotions in it, but to just understand a little bit more about how the music is constructed. So a sonata, for those of you that are not familiar with this term, is a work of music that is large in size. That means that it has different parts, which in music we call movements. So up to this time, most sonatas had 3 movements or 3 parts, but with this sonata, Beethoven starts to expand. He's going from the more classical period to the more romantic period in which everything is expanded. So this particular sonata is the first one of the 10 sonatas for violin and piano, which has 4 movements or 4 parts. These movements or parts are better thought of as chapters in a book. So the book would be the sonata, and the chapters, in this case, there are 4 chapters, would be each movement. So they're meant to be listened to in its entirety, not just go and read chapter 2 and then that's it, because you won't understand where it came from or where it's going. So these sonatas are meant to be listened to from beginning to end, and that is why we are performing it in its entirety on Saturday. It lasts about 24-25 minutes, so it's not like an hour-long piece, but it certainly is longer than just 3 or 4 minutes. So there is a lot of variety, and I'm just going to show you here with the piano, with the aid of my piano here, a little bit about how it's made, how it was composed. So the first movement is a rather fast movement, and it has this beautiful melody. So that's what the violin plays. Then I play the same melody, so you get to hear it 2 times. And then after that, there is a little bit of connection, a few measures of just scales going up and down, and chords and chromatic scales, things like that, until we arrive to the second theme. In the first movement of a sonata, there usually are 2 characters. You can think of it as characters in a book, and usually they're very different in emotions and different in characters. So the second character now arrives in the picture, and this second character is not as lyrical and poetic and flowing as the first one. It's more even like a march, and it sounds like this. And the violin goes. the violin and the piano start to dialogue. The violin does, and the piano, and the violin, and the piano. They have a dialogue like that, but very different in the way that they sound. Those are the two characters. Those are the two melodies that you will hear in this movement. We will come back to talk about the first movement in more detail in another video that I will probably present the following day. Let's move on to the second movement, which is the slower movement, the more lyrical movement. And in this movement, we can see the genius of Beethoven when he takes a melody that you've heard already. For example, to be more specific, the melody of the beginning. Okay, listen to that. And now he takes that and he transforms that, and at the end of the second movement, we can hear that instead of, we hear it like this. Okay, so it's almost the same, but it reminds us of the past. It's in a different key and it's going to be slower. And the piano also presents it, maybe not so precise, we could say, maybe definitely in a different far away version of it, but it sounds like this. So you can hear, but it's that is the second movement. You're going to hear the melody repeat itself, and each time it repeats, it's slightly different. Then the third movement comes, which is very short. It's called scherzo, and scherzo in Italian means joke, because this scherzo, this third movement, is always in Beethoven's music is something short usually and light and funny, kind of to break the seriousness of the previous movements and of the next movement. So what does he do? He takes part of the second theme of the first movement, which, if you recall, it sounds like this. Let's see. Something like that. So he takes this, and that's how he starts the third movement. Isn't that brilliant? Then the violin joins me and we both play together. But then something funny happens, and this is the musical joke. The violin falls behind a beat. So to a musician, let's say, or to the people of these times, they would know that this is a musical joke, because it's as if the violin all of a sudden stopped counting and is coming in a bit later. So a beat. So instead of going, it's just comes. You will notice when you hear it. We're not lined up like we should, and that's the musical joke. And finally, the fourth movement, which we're back to fast, it's called a rondo. A rondo is like a round where the main melody keeps repeating and coming back. So it's the main melody and then something different, and then the main melody and then something different, and then the main melody and then something different. Of course, it takes longer. It's not like that it goes right after the other, but you'll definitely hear it. And again, you can hear how everything is brought together by the themes of the first movement. So the melody of the fourth movement is based on a little section of the melody of the first movement, which is this section. If instead of being that big jump, I made a shorter jump, it would sound like something like this. If I made it shorter, even I contracted it. And that is how the last movement starts. It starts. It actually was born from a section of the first theme of the first movement. It sounds like this. And then the melody will play it, and then we will move on to something different. And then we will come back and play the same melody. And then we will move on to something different. And then we'll come back to the same melody until we get to the end. And the end is a very strong Beethoven-like ending that I'm sure you will recognize and enjoy. So I hope that this has helped you. And I hope that you will join us this coming Saturday, November 21st, to hear this beautiful piece of music called the Spring Sonata by Beethoven. And please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, subscribe. It helps us to continue making free videos for you. And in the next few days until Saturday, I will release videos which will concentrate on each movement, and I will explain a little bit more about all the amazing things that Beethoven does with the music, with sound, considering that at this time in his life, he was starting to lose his hearing. So it makes this music even more brilliant and more genius. We'll see you next Saturday. The link to register is in the description area of this video. It's a free concert, and I hope that you will join us and that you will invite others. So please feel free to pass that link along to other people. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.